Most people said there's no way Chris Paul would fit with the Golden State Warriors the moment he got traded. But in his first possession with the Dubs, CP3 proved that this ain't true. See, after a dribble handoff, CP3 just worked his two-man magic with Looney, and who would have thought that the first ever bucket of the Dubs this season was going to come from a Chris Paul baseline jumper off pick and roll? I mean, we're pretty much aware of how crazy and wild this offseason has been. Bradley Beal went to the Valley. Meanwhile, Holiday and Porzingis are now wearing the bright greens of Boston. And times are about to get even freakier, with Dame Time teaming up with the Greek Freak over in Milwaukee. Now, not gonna lie, these were pretty darn good trades. But in the grander scheme of things, these moves were, let's just say, not enough, if you compare it to what the Dubs have pulled off this offseason.
Yeah, a big one. The Washington Wizards have agreed to send Chris Paul to the Golden State Warriors.
With the 19th pick in the 2023 NBA Draft, the Golden State Warriors select Brandon Podziemski from Santa Clara University.
But it was always in my mind, like I want to go there. This is like best option for me to play, quality guys, high-level IQ players.
See, while everyone is putting their money on the Bucks, Suns, Celtics, and Nuggets to win it all next season, I think the Golden State Warriors will once again blindside these teams just like they did 2 seasons ago with their solid acquisitions this summer, starting off with the point god himself, Chris Paul. Now, after the trade happened, a bunch of analysts quickly condemned this move by the Dubs, saying stuff like CP3 was just too small, too old, and too fragile. But if we're going to take a look at his first preseason run, it seems that he just fits right in with his new crew. I mean, after securing the board, look at how seamlessly CP3 sets up Steph here on the break as if they're playing together for a long time already. Then, moments later, he finds the wide-open Wiggins in the corner coming off a back pick from Looney. And speaking of the big man, just look at how Chris Paul seamlessly executed this pick-and-roll action with Looney to perfection. Now, as you saw in those clips, CP3 makes the job easier for everyone as he can deliver the goods on point and on time without spilling the package along the way. I mean, as good as Jordan Poole was as a scorer, JP3 was a walking disaster on most occasions last season, as he would often turn the ball over with his indecisiveness and erratic shot making. CP3, on the other hand, ranked 4th last season in terms of assist to turnover ratio. Simply put, Paul is a much more steady operator who knows how to take care of the ball and pick his shots on the offensive end, which is why I think this JP3-CP3 trade will benefit the Warriors a lot more than it hurts them in the long run. And not only that, CP3 is a proven winner wherever he goes. I mean, whether he was playing with the Clippers, Rockets, OKC, or Phoenix, we all know that Paul has made those teams even better in all aspects with his leadership and elite playmaking. Well, aside from the plenty of upsides that Chris Paul brings to the table, the other reason why the Dubs are going to turn a lot of heads next season is that they have a talented pool of hungry young guns that are just waiting to be unleashed. See, you have a ridiculously athletic stud in Jonathan Kuminga, who is just 21. There's Moses Moody, who's slowly evolving into an elite two-way player, also at 21. And then there's Usman Garuba, Lester Quinones, as well as their newest rookies, Pods and TJD, all just aged 23 and below. In their first preseason game against the Lakers, this bunch of young guys just proved that they're about to make a major statement next season. I mean, if you take a look at the stat sheet, Kuminga led all scorers with 24, and he also punched in 8 boards, 4 dimes, and 2 blocks while knocking down 4 of 8 3-pointers. And then Moody had 15, 4, and 2 on 46.2 shooting, followed by Podziemski, who had a solid all-around game on high shooting splits. Among the young guns, Kuminga and Moody will definitely take on a bigger role off the bench, and after learning the ropes with the Dubs in their first 3 seasons, there's a high chance that these two will have a breakout year next season based on how the numbers they've put up in their first game of the preseason, as well as how they ended their last season's campaign. Now, on top of their blossoming young talents, the Warriors also added some solid vets like Corey Joseph, Dario Saric, and Rudy Gay to beef up their new-look lineup. A career 35% three-point shooter, Joseph will have no problem blending in with the Dubs because he previously played under Popovich and the Spurs, which we all know is a team that runs similar plays and offensive philosophies with the Dubs. Meanwhile, Saric is a high IQ pick-and-pop guy who had a history of working with Chris Paul during their time in Phoenix. So the question of fit and chemistry issues seems to be out the window for him as of the moment. And even though there's no guarantee that Rudy Gay will lock in the final spot in their roster, it's definitely a welcoming sight to have him on board because of his size and versatility on both ends of the floor. Anyways, I think the Dubs are going to make a serious splash next season with all their latest additions taken into account. But aside from this factor, having their core intact is the main ingredient that will make the whole thing work for them next season. I mean, coming off a 29.4 points per game season, Steph Curry is still at the peak of his powers at 35 years old. And regardless of what lineup is available at hand, you'll always have a shot at the championship if you have someone like the Chef carrying the team on his back all throughout the season. Then, aside from Steph, Klay also had a solid bounce-back season as he led the league in three-pointers made last year. And from the looks of things, it seems that Klay is already returning to his old all-star form sooner than expected. Meanwhile, Andrew Wiggins, who I believe has the potential to become the premier two-way wing in the league as long as he doesn't get distracted by off-court issues, is still one of the key guys who will play a huge role for the Dubs on both ends, especially down the tough stretches come playoff time. And speaking of playoffs, Kevon Looney was a revelation in their series against the Kings and Lakers when he tallied a string of rebounding numbers on a monster level. And he too will play a crucial part in the Dubs championship run next year. Not only as a rebounder, but also the one who will give his teammates good looks on the offensive end as their best screener. Now, to round up their core, Draymond Green is still going to be the heart and soul of this team and the voice of the locker room despite CP3's presence. And before I almost forget, the Dubs also have Gary Payton II, who can lock up the opposing team's best player by providing tremendous defensive energy coming off the bench on a nightly basis. Now, if we're going to take a look at their current roster, this Dubs squad looks well balanced from top to bottom and has enough depth to make a deep run in the postseason. We have seen in the Lakers game that Steve Kerr was not afraid of experimenting as he started CP3 and the Splash Brothers together along with Wiggins and Looney at the front court. With CP3 being the primary ball handler in this lineup, it frees up Steph from doing point guard duties. And as you saw in the clips earlier, Steph was able to position himself at a scoring position right away since Chris Paul was already the one setting up the table for the whole team. The big problem with this lineup, though, is that this small ball lineup wouldn't work against taller teams with CP3 and Steph playing the backcourt. And if they decided to scrape this one off for good, I think Chris Paul would still be as equally as effective playing as a backup point guard along with GP2, Moody, Kuminga, and Saric on the second unit. We all know that CP3 is more than capable of unleashing the true potential of youngsters if he gets an opportunity to get acquainted with them. I mean, a perfect example of this is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. When CP3 joined OKC back in the 2019-20 season, SGA averaged below 20 points a ball game. But look at how his numbers took off in the following seasons after that, and to me, there's no question that somehow or some way, CP3's lessons and teachings may have rubbed off on SGA big time. Now, the same thing could happen to the rest of the young guns, especially to JK in particular, and if Paul is successful in tapping his hidden potential, then the Dubs will surely scare the hell out of the teams in the upcoming season.
A few people have specifically mentioned Kuminga as a guy they think you can help. I'm just curious your thoughts on his game and his talent and where basketball wise you think you might be able to help him when you're in lineups with him.
JK can hoop, man.
With the vets providing quality minutes when called upon, plus the energy that the young guys will provide on both ends, and their big four of Steph, Klay, Draymond, and Wiggins remaining intact, this retooled Warriors team will surely give any team a run for their money with its combination of depth, versatility, and championship experience. Anyway, the Warriors may just have put everyone on notice with their scary new look lineup, and with this said, I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Dubs managed to win it all next season.